Good morning. Great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious morning. Again, the beautiful reminder of choice that we all have. Remember, you always have a choice. I always have a choice. We always have a choice. And what is that choice about? It's about how we're going to think, what we're going to make things mean. Now, think about that for you in your life and your experiences with whatever happens. All of it is fundamentally meaningless, and it is you who gets to decide what those things mean. And when I'm talking about those things, I'm talking about your results. I'm talking about what somebody says, what somebody does, what you've done. All of it just is. Nothing is good or bad. It's our thinking that makes it so. And the best part about that is that we get to choose the meaning of everything. Now, why is that so important? Why do I repeat this so much? Well, because I want to embed that within you. And also because when you change the meanings, you change the vibratory state, which is the feeling. And that feeling is the attractive force in your life. It determines what you're attracted to, what's attracted to you, what you're repelled by, and what's repelled by you. Now, think about that. It's all in your control because you can think what you please. And if to think is to form, you can form what you please. This is why we do what we do here, is because both Dolly and I have done this in our lives. We were both searching for who we truly were and how our marvelous, miraculous, incredible, powerful minds worked. And we learned from the same person. That person was Bob Proctor. And from him, we learned how we're supposed to think. And the reason why we're able to do this right now, the way we do it, is because we did the work. We proceeded with the effort. And that's something that you've got to do for you. Think about all these calls. We're sharing with you a lot of information. With that being said, a reminder about this information, what I just said here in the beginning of this call and what we read throughout the books, all of that information, all of that knowledge has no power in and of itself. It requires you to put forth the effort to apply it in your life where the power will come to life. And see, that's where your work comes into play. That's why we have these calls. That's why we wrote There's No Such Thing as Self-Sabotage, which is an incredible disruptor. It's a liberator. And that's also why we put into play emergence, which is the implementing tool for the freedom that you gain and the liberation that you gain from this. And with the use of it, again, you shift how you think, which then shifts your life. It's so cool, like from this beautiful gem here, which we have been studying, As a Man Thinketh and Out from the Heart. This is a beautiful gem that was actually two beautiful gems, one written in 1903, the other one in 1904, all of which talks about as within, so without. The within is ceaselessly becoming the without. You want to earn more on the outside. As a result, you got to deal with what's causing that result. You got to deal with the within. And really think about this. Look at your results right now, whatever they may be. If things have not been changing, the cause is what's in the heart. The cause is what you are emotionally involved with. If you do not change that, the results will not change. And that's everything according to law. Now think about that. When I say that's everything according to law, I'm talking about that's everything. Everything happens according to law. In other words, you're supposed to be where you are right now because of the cause. So work with the law. Use what we're talking about as if your life depends on it. You know why? Because it does. Now, I want to read something. I like bringing in little tidbits from Neville Goddard because, oh my gosh, love him so much. This is what we study together, Dolly and I, and this is what we study with our private clients. And oh my gosh, it's so good. And I want to talk about assumptions. Remember, you have six higher mental faculties: imagination, perception, reason, will, memory, and intuition. Perception is what you believe, it's the assumptions you make. Now, what he says here, this is in the chapter All Things Are Possible. through the mastery of your assumptions, you are in very truth enabled to master life. It is thus that the ladder of life is ascended, thus the ideal is realized. Think about that. What you assume, that's what you believe. The belief that you have leads to the faith that you have. The faith that you have is in direct proportion to the belief you have. The clue to the real purpose of life is to surrender yourself to your ideal with such awareness of its reality that you begin to live the life of the ideal and no longer your own life as it was prior to this surrender. So he's talking about imagining something great for yourself, believing it, acting as if that will lead to the believing, and assuming that it's finished, and to rid yourself of the idea of how you have been. You know, it's so fascinating is in the personal development world, they ask this question, who are you? And a lot of people, when they answer that question, they answer from their precedent. And they also answer from a characteristic, an ideal, and really doesn't embody the essence of who you are. But I really want you to think about what I just shared with you from Neville. He says, when you live that way, when you live according to your precedent, according to how you have been, according to what you want to be, you're not able to go forth and live something far, far greater. Now, in terms of who you are, where I'm going with this, who you are is this magnificent creative being of which you're able to imagine and assume anything you want about yourself. See, that's the true essence of who you are. And there is no limit to what that can be. The only limitations you have, if you have them, and we have them, but it's not because of who we are, it's because of what we've consented to and accepted as true. It's because of the precedent, because of the past. So my invitation for you is to assume the best, to look for the best, to connect with being the best, to surround yourself with the best in your mind as if it's happening when? Right now. And if you do that continuously enough times, eventually it'll take form in your outer world as an outcome. It'll start taking shape. Just as what Neville Goddard says. He says, if you sync with that state, if you lock into that state, whatever that is, living your life from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, of how you love things to be, maybe it's what's been written on your magnificent goal card. If you lock into that state, all the plots, plans, dramas, and situations, they will activate. They will come alive. And he says, if you are observant, you will see outer reality taking shape upon the model of your imagination. That's what will start taking shape in your outer world. Now think about that for you with whatever you want for your life, whatever result you would love to make a material fact. And then did you notice that through that is what you imagine? Your imagination is the only weapon you have to combat whatever your circumstances and results are that you don't want. And yet most of us are a slave to our imaginings, not a master of our imagination. So our invitation for you is to engage with that and lock into that. And if you want additional help to embed it within you even stronger, then my goodness, lock into emergence, because there's your solution. Because that's where the practice comes into play. And it's beautiful repetition where it builds upon each lesson. It's so incredible. It's so simple. We've seen incredible change in a very short period of time for those who have used it. And it works. All right, let's go into where we are now. Here we're in Out from the Heart. Remember these two books. If you don't have a copy of this book, make sure you do get a copy of it. Make it a permanent part of your library. And let's go into this. Are you ready? Type in the comments, I'm ready. I'm ready. Yes, you are ready. Let's go for it. Now, we went over wrong mental conditions and right mental conditions. And we're just going to briefly go over these wrong mental conditions, the ones you need to remove, and replace them with the right mental conditions. Now, remember, all of these are how you are thinking. Your results in your life are happening because of how you are thinking. You become how you're thinking most of the time. not what you think about most of the time. So the wrong mental conditions that are pointed out here and their effects: hatred, which leads to injury, violence, disaster, and suffering. Don't hate, let go. Lust leads to confusion of intellect, remorse, shame, and wretchedness. Covetousness, fear, unrest, unhappiness, and loss. Don't covet anything that anybody else has. Not a good idea. And then pride, which is leads to disappointment, chagrin, lack of self-knowledge, and vanity, which leads to distress and mortification of spirit. By the way, that doesn't mean not to have a beautiful love for yourself. Being vain versus having a beautiful admiration for who you truly are and the beauty you have is completely different. And then condemnation, persecution, hatred from others. That's what happens when you start to condemn others. Ill will leads to failures and troubles. Don't have any ill will inside of you. Self-indulgence leads to misery, loss, and judgment, grossness, disease, and neglect. Get rid of that. And then anger, desire, or self-slavery. That leads to loss of power and grief, folly, sorrow, uncertainty, and loneliness. Now, yesterday, I had you type in yuck. So let's all type in yuck to this. Okay. Type in yuck because all of these are yucky. Okay. Now, before we proceed, for those of you who are watching this live stream and are feeling this and know that this is something that can help you tremendously in your life, and if you love to participate in the remainder of this call and access the replays and be in this wonderful community, then do yourself a favor. Stop sitting there and thinking about it. Override that and be decisive right here, right now, and go to elevitality.com and register for Master Your Mind. You will thank yourself later. Everyone who's here has thanked themselves later. I'm telling you, it works. All right, now, good. You typed in yuck, which